ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about the Marvels a lot on this channel. You know, its quality, its impact on the MCU, as well as the broader comic book movie genre as a whole. But there's one man whose analysis we've all been waiting for. And that man goes by the name of Matt Walsh. So let us see what he has to say about the situation.
You know, the world can be a bleak place and getting bleaker by the day, which is why it's all the more important to celebrate the good news when it comes. Rejoice in the victories, which brings us to this past weekend and the opening of the latest installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a phrase that I prefer not to use because the universe itself is vast and varied and fascinating. But the Marvel Universe, on the other hand, is repetitive and dull and tedious and pointless.
Ooh, got him.
Not really a universe at all, it turns out. It's just a series of films where each film exists only to set up the next film, which exists to set up the next one.
Dude, he's owning them epically.
Primarily exists to sell merchandise.
He just epically owned Kevin Feige in a debate. Ben Shapiro style. Oh my God.
In the actual universe and the Marvel universe is that the actual universe has lots of black holes, and the Marvel universe is a black hole.
Oh my God, he's nailing them down, dude.
That has expanded by consuming the rest of the movie industry, so that at this point in 2023, nobody in the movie industry knows how to make a movie unless it involves people in rubber suits kicking each other.
What? Why do people make this stupid point? Okay, we could do this right now. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm just gonna open up my phone and I'm just gonna log on to my fucking local movie theater app and let's just see what's playing. Let's just see. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it is all just people in spandex punching and kicking each other. I don't know. Maybe it is all superhero movie. Okay, first here we have Five Nights at Freddy's. Last time I checked, no superheroes in that movie. The Holdovers. Don't believe that there are any superheroes in this movie. The Hunger Games and the Chutes and Ladders and Snakes. No superheroes in that movie. Okay, we have the Marvels. Okay, fair comic book superhero movie. Bunch of superheroes in it. Napoleon. Last time I checked, no superheroes in that movie. Next Goal Wins. Don't believe that there are any superheroes in this. Saltburn. I don't think that there are any superhero movies. I've actually never heard of this. Thanksgiving. No superheroes in that. Trolls Band Together. No superheroes in that. Wish. No superheroes in that. Why do people say this? Just, like, I will never understand this idea of, like, oh, Hollywood doesn't make any original movies anymore. Oh, it's all just Marvel and Star Wars and blah. It's like, bro. Just go to the movies once in your life. You will very quickly see that that's not really the case at all. Whatsoever. Sorry, that's just like such a dumb point that people will like make and bring up, and it literally makes no sense. Like, what the fuck? Hold on, let me just edit my I think I have to turn down my volume because I'm getting rowdy.
All that to say, the latest Marvel movie, creatively titled The Marvels, was a massive, humiliating flop. And thank God.
Not wrong.
We should also note, as this is likely not a coincidental factor, that the film is a female-led girl power fest starring a team of women superheroes headlined by feminist actor.
You know what's so funny? It's just like, like, it's not even like a girl power movie. There's literally nothing in the movie that has anything to do with like girl power or whatever. At no point in any of the trailers was there like a movie where was there a point where it was like girl power, we're taking down the patriarchy, blah. It's like it's literally nowhere in the movie, nowhere in any of the marketing, nowhere in anything. Like it's just not. There's literally no reason for you to believe that unless you just like you are like inherently against like female-led movies. Like that is the only way that you could make that criticism if you just don't like female-led movies, and you just like, and literally just women existing is like a statement against the patriarchy or whatever. Like, it's just such a nonsensical point. I actually remember, I remember I reacted to a trailer reaction from Ben Shapiro, who did like a trailer reaction for the Marvels. And I remember it was just so telling because bro had literally nothing to say, because he went into that trailer reaction obviously like expecting to just like talk about how like woke it is all the time. And when he realized that there was nothing woke about the movie, he just didn't have anything to say. And he like moved on to a completely separate topic. He started talking about like, well, I think it was like Emma Roberts or something. It was the most bizarre thing. It was like one of the most bizarre things I'd ever seen in my entire fucking life. But yeah, the movie's not even woke. It's literally not. There's no girl power scene. Like, there's no like girl power moment like in Endgame. There's no point where like they're beating up sexist men or something. It's literally just a bad movie. Like that's one of the things that I pushed in my review, where I was like, just so we're clear, this movie isn't bad because it's woke. It is just a terribly made movie. And I don't think that it's bombing either because because of wokeness or because people don't want to watch like female-led movies or anything like that. It's just because the quality of the MCU is dipped, and it's just gotten to the point where unless you're like a heavy hitter character, I just don't think that audiences are going to inherently care about the MCU anymore. Or, or unless you're like a really good product, which the Marvels isn't, so it's not going to have legs. That's just where the MCU is at. You need to either be a heavy hitter character, or you have to have the product has to be great, which the Marvels just isn't.
Brie Larson. The abysmal numbers show just how thoroughly uninterested audiences seem to be in this kind of content. The Marvels opened with a $47 million weekend, which is a number that, might seem high, given that $47 million would be enough to feed 9,000 African villages for 100 years or something. But in terms of Marvel movies, it is a catastrophic failure. Easily the worst opening weekend in the history of the Marvel franchise generally, and made all the worse when you compare the box office receipts to the production budget. Reportedly, the Marvels cost something like $275 million to make. And that's just the production budget of the film.
Yeah, that's just insane. I mean, I said this all in my review, but the Marvels really is just, it is just everything that is currently going wrong with the MCU just clashing and coming to a head, And the insane budgets that they're giving these movies is absolutely a part of that problem. Because it's one of those things where it's like, at least with something like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where, that, I believe that also had like a more than $200 million budget, but at least it looked like it. I'm watching the Marvels and I'm like, where in the hell did any of this money go? Why does it look like a TV commercial? It's rough. It's rough out here in these MCU streets.
Film. It doesn't count the many millions spent on marketing. Yet, just to recover the production budget, the Marvels would have to earn somewhere just south of $500 million at a minimum. And based on the opening performance, it is extremely unlikely that will happen. The film is doomed to go down as yet another recent big-budget Hollywood flop. In fact, the performance has been so bad.
He misspoke. He said flap instead of flop. Sorry.
And that according to the Hollywood Reporter, it has Marvel Studios rethinking their whole strategy for making and releasing films. Watch.
How to use Photoshop to make your images more surreal. First, I'll grab the
an
lasso
ad?
tool and select the area where I want to add an
God
object.
damn it.
I'm
This isn't the first warning sign that something's been amiss within Marvel in terms of quality control, as Kevin Feige's team has been in overdrive producing shows for streaming. Features Eternals and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania also received B Cinema scores, while audiences began complaining about keeping up with an increasing number of shows on Disney Plus to understand the overarching MCU story. Behind the scenes, Marvel Studios and Disney were well aware the Marvels was in trouble before it hit the big screen. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter there was also a recognition that Feige and his team needed time to take stock of their theatrical tentpoles. On November 8th, Bob Iger said on an earnings call that Disney's movie empire is, quote, lost focus because of an emphasis on quantity over quality in the rush to feed Disney Plus under the Bob Chapek regime, though it was Iger himself who initiated this push before Chapek's reign. Sources say Feige and his team felt this mandate keenly to the detriment of Marvel's movies. The next day, Marvel and Disney revealed they were scaling back the number of superhero films they will release in 2024 from 3 to just 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that is making me kind of hopeful about, Marvel, maybe. Just the fact that on paper, they recognize the issue, right? They recognize the quantity over quality that they've been emphasizing over the past few years. But it really is one of those things where we can't really get too optimistic or hopeful about it until we just see the end result, right? Like Echo, that trailer looks awesome. Everybody's excited about it, but I can't get truly hopeful until like I'm sitting down and I binge the show and it's as good as it looks. So that's one of the elements that absolutely should be emphasized here, where at least on paper, at least as far as everything that they're saying, they do seem to understand the problem.
1.
Well, if I could offer some solace to audiences, you don't need to keep track of the overarching Marvel story because there is no story. You're watching a series of extended toy commercials. And the narrative is very much a secondary concern.
Oh my
if it
God,
ranks
he's
even
owning
that
them,
high,
guys.
which I don't think it does. But this leads to the question of why a redundant, lifeless, big budget, but weirdly cheap looking feminist superhero girl power movie would perform so poorly.
See, it's just like it's not even feminist. There's nothing feminist about it. It's like such a weird, because it's one of those things where it's like I'm always like suspicious when like political commentators start talking about like popular media, where it's like, bro, this isn't this isn't your lane. What? Like, it's so obvious that they're like so desperate to inject their own like personal politics into everything, where it's like, bro, what are you even talking about? You have like, it's obvious that you don't even care about any of this.
Now, that's not a question that any sane person has to think very hard to answer. I just kind of answered it in the question itself. The question answers itself. The media isn't thinking very hard either. They've, of course, decided that it must be sexism. So here's an article in The Stylist laying the groundwork for this excuse before the box office.
That's such a weird did you notice that like slight like verbal trick or whatever that he just did? He's about to like bring up a specific article, and I don't know if I'm going to agree with it or not, but he's about to bring up a specific article. But instead of like just bringing up the article and being like, hey, this is an example of a specific person that's kind of said something dumb, he has to go, the media. It's the media, guys. All of the media is about to say this dumb thing. And I don't know if this is done on purpose because, I don't know, like people like the Daily Wire like desperately need their audience to think that regular mainstream media is bad and you need to come to us because we're the only truth tellers. But I don't know, that's just like a very weird thing that I notice that'll sometimes these commentators will do. And it's especially stupid because he just played something from The Hollywood Reporter. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too deep into that, but anyways, we'll hit play.
Seats were tallied. That's how you know, right, that a movie is good, is that before it comes out, they're already telling you that if you don't watch it, you're a bigot. Quote Quote, fresh off the back of first reviews, fake takes about the film have sadly started to circulate on X, formerly Twitter, from people who have not yet seen the movie. This might sound familiar. The first trailer stirred the sexist trolls from their slumber, and after they review bombed Captain Marvel, it was almost inevitable that they would return to do the same for the sequel.
Okay, so what Matthew just said was that this article was about to say that if you don't like the movie, then you're a sexist. Now, if you read the article, or maybe you're blind, if you just listen to what he just read, it literally doesn't say that. It's saying that there are people giving their takes on the movie when they couldn't have possibly seen it yet. I mean, am I misunderstanding this here? Yeah. So I mean, I don't like. I will say it's probably not even like the most. It's not the most. I don't think that when you're like broadly talking about something or somebody or an issue like this, it's probably not the wisest thing to do to just like broadly generalize and refer to trolls as sexist, because it's then very easy for somebody to like be like, what? Me? Sexist? I'm not a sexist. Why would you accuse me of such a thing? Like when you're like talking about vague people, I don't know. I don't think it's a particularly wise thing to do, right? It's not like how in this video, I think that, I think it's pretty easy to call out like Matt Walsh's potential sexism when he literally just like assumed that the movie is feminist just because it has 3 women in the lead, right? Like that's literally the only information that he has to go off of. So it's probably reasonable to like call them sexist, but that's because I'm like playing this full video in full context and I have all the information here. It's probably not wise to just vaguely talk about Twitter trolls and refer to them as sexist because of the way society is out, or because of the way people just react to information and stuff. People are going to automatically assume that you are specifically just talking about people that don't like the movie. So, I don't know. We're talking about optics here. It's kind of dumb, but it is what it is.
Sequel. Within 2 days of its release, the teaser became the most disliked video on YouTube, with one user labeling it Captain Feminist and the Patriarchy Stone, which is...
Yeah, see, like if you wanted to write an effective article, you would maybe like bring up specific examples, right, of people leaving comments like that, and just attacking those specific comments, because that is a really stupid comment, right? Anybody that like, listen, I have my criticisms of the Marvels. You can watch my review. In my opinion, it is the worst MCU movie ever made. I genuinely think it is. It's not, but the movie isn't woke. It has nothing to do with feminism, and it is very silly for somebody to like make that critique. So I think, I don't know. I think generally speaking, there's probably a little bit too much of a lot of these publications potentially just very just vaguely and broadly labeling people instead of attacking specific claims like that.
Great. It seems that the toxic underbelly of the comic book franchise is back on display as some misogynistic fans attempt to slander a brilliant film simply because it's led by 3 women.
To be fair, and again, the article is very broadly making the claim, but that is literally what happened, right? When people, before they saw the movie, just watching the trailer, and even after watching the movie, right? Even after you watch the movie, there's nothing feminist in it. There literally isn't. I mean, maybe I fell asleep. It's not a very good movie, so it's possible. Maybe I fell asleep during a moment where Aman Vellani went on a soy rant about the patriarchy, but there's literally nothing like that in there. So I personally believe that anybody that criticizes it because it's like feminist or whatever, I honestly think that they're probably just sexist. Like, there's literally nothing feminist in it. It's just a movie that's led by women. And if you call that feminism, you probably just don't like the fact that they're female leads. Because I don't, or like educate me. Let me know why it's feminist, if not because of that.
Slander. Yes, the toxic underbelly is slandering again. Got to watch out for that toxic underbelly. And of course, this has to be the explanation. Why else wouldn't people flock to see a movie where a bunch of annoying women run around punching people? That's the conclusion shared by the director of the film, too, Nia DaCosta. As Breitbart reports, she was making these kinds of excuses well ahead of time. Quote, as Disney's The Marvel goes down as the biggest flop in Marvel Cinematic Universe history, the movie's director, Nia DaCosta, has played her final three cards: race, gender, and sexuality. The Marvel's director lashed out at haters, calling them bigots in a recent interview with Variety. But the irony is that her movie's largest group of ticket buyers has turned out to be male and white. Nia DaCosta sounded off on the negative fan buildup to the Marvels during the interview. Quote, there are pockets where you go because you're like, I'm a super fan, I want to exist in the space of just adoration, which includes civilized critique. Then there are pockets that are really virulent and violent and racist and sexist and homophobic and all those awful things. And I choose the side of light. That's the part of fandom I'm attracted to.
Is there anything wrong with that statement? Literally what she said was that, yeah, there's some pockets of the internet that are really shitty and, you know, kind of racist or whatever. Or what did she say? Homophobic, I think. I don't even know. But she basically just said, yeah, there's some pockets on the internet that are kind of wacky. I prefer to stay on the more like on the non-unhinged parts of the internet where, you know, includes criticism, but it just doesn't get over the top. There's literally nothing wrong with that statement.
So did you catch that? It is not only racist and somehow homophobic to dislike the Marvels, it is also violent. Not paying 30.
She includes the light side and the dark side in her statement. Within the dark side, she included critique. Matthew, you literally just read it. Within the light side, it includes critique. She's literally saying that it is possible for you to criticize the movie without being a part of the dark corners of the internet, like she described. What is Blood waffling about?
$50 for 2 tickets to the Marvels this weekend is an act of violence. Choose the side of light, the director implores you. Choose goodness, choose love.
Yeah, within that, it includes critique. She's literally saying that you can dislike the movie without without being on the dark side. Oh wait, did I miss that part though when she like said that violence was a part of all this? Okay, I mean, yeah, she said then there are pockets that are really virulent. I don't even know what the fuck that word means. Virulent, homophobic, and all those awful things. Or wait. Sorry, then there are pockets that are really virulent and violent and racist. You probably don't need to include violence here. I will say that's probably not necessary, but even still, she's literally saying that I want to exist in the space of just adoration, which includes civilized critique. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, okay. She says she wants to include in the space of adoration, which includes civilized critique. You know what? Okay, hold on. I might have misheard this part. Listen. Okay, I'm watching this video while playing Minecraft. She is okay. To be fair, she is saying that she wants to exist in the space of just adoration, which includes civilized critique. She said, then there are pockets that are really violent and racist. I mean, if we're being honest, though, like, if we're gonna take this statement where she is saying that she mainly wants to exist in a space of adoration, and then she's also saying that there are also pockets that are like really negative that she doesn't necessarily want to pay attention to. I don't know. Like, I guess you could. I can see where Matt Walsh is coming from. She's also like, and this definitely could have been worded better. But like, if you read this and your inherent takeaway is that, oh well, if you dislike the movie, then she's calling you violent and racist. That's not what she's saying here necessarily, because she's saying that there are other pockets that are like violent and racist or whatever. But in a universe full of pockets, what is happening? Why are we using pockets to describe things? But in a world where there are multiple pockets, there can be the pockets of adoration, and there can be pockets of people that just dislike the movie, and there can be the pockets of like sexist people. I'm assuming that within her worldview, there are probably multiple pockets. But like, I don't know. I'm not gonna necessarily take this statement and just be like, oh well, she definitely thinks that if you dislike the movie, then it's just because you're a sexist. Because to be honest, I don't think you can necessarily make that exact claim, but I definitely do think that artists should always be emphasizing like that whenever you're talking about the more unhinged parts of the internet. I feel like just because people are going to like obsess over every word that you say, you probably should always be emphasizing that we're not just, you're not just talking about the people that dislike your movie. I definitely think that that's something that these people, these creatives and stuff should always be emphasizing. But I mean, yeah, I can understand where Matt Walsh is coming from here, to be fair, because she does say, I want to exist in a space of adoration. Then there are pockets that are really virulent and violent and racist. So she's not saying that there aren't other pockets that include people that just dislike the movie. Like I can see where Matt Walsh could interpret it that way, but that's not what she's saying. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, because I also do wish people would just be like blunt and be like, yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie, I mostly like to stay around people that like the movie, and there are a bunch of unhinged weirdos, but there are also people that just dislike the movie, and that's totally cool. I definitely wish a lot of these people working on movies could just like be blunt like that. But anyways, well, let's get to the rest of the video.
Not paying $30 for 2 tickets to the Marvels this weekend is an act of violence. Choose the side of...
Yeah, I think that's not what she really said. To be fair to Nia DaCosta.
Light, the director implores you. Choose goodness. Choose love. Choose to give her your money. Since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the left has lost their minds. Leftism is their religion. Abortion is their official sacrament. Meanwhile, pro-life efforts, which are now more important than ever, are booming. Despite the narrative, pro-lifers have not gone away. In fact, they're getting more and more active. As one of the largest pro-life organizations in the world, no one is in a better position than 40 Days for Life to end abortion state by state.
I prefer abstinence. No sex, okay? Women, cringe.
Record number of locations since Roe was overturned. They continue to grow in volunteers. They now have 1 million volunteers in 1,500 cities. 40 Days for Life holds peaceful vigils outside abortion facilities in an effort to change hearts and minds in the most blue pro-abortion states. You can help 40 Days for Life fight ongoing legal battles to protect free speech for their volunteers by giving a tax-deductible gift of any amount at 40daysforlife.com. That's 40daysforlife.com. In a world filled with uncertainties, you need to be prepared for any possibility. You need My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply is your trusted partner for emergency preparedness. Whether it's a natural disaster, a sudden emergency, or unforeseen circumstances, My Patriot Supply.
Why do all of these products have to be so politically charged?
You and your loved ones are always well fed no matter what comes your way.
You can't just get a first aid kit. You got to get the Patriot first aid kit. you got to get bandages with the American flag on it. Why? I just don't understand.
3-month emergency food kit is even customizable with options like their ultimate breakfast kit, a mega protein kit with real meat, and even a gluten-free kit.
Oh my gosh.
Your 3-month emergency food supply provides.
Listen, I'm a red-blooded American. I ain't eating none of that gluten-free nonsense. I want the real patriot bread.
Over 2,000 calories each day.
Real
for optimal
Americans
strength
eat
and
bread.
energy in stressful situations. Don't wait for disaster to strike before taking action. Invest in your safety and well-being by securing your food storage today. Go to preparewithwalsh.com to get your 3-month food supply today. That's preparewithwalsh.com.
I'm not on my parents' health insurance anymore, and I work for myself doing a bit of everything. So I found a plan for just.
Now, the problem with blaming the movie's horrible performance on sexism and racism, one of the dozens of problems anyway, is that, as it said in the article, by far the largest demo who went to see the film were men, and most of them were white men, presumably blind and deaf white men, but those details aren't recorded. So perhaps Nia DaCosta needs to take this up with all the women and racial minorities who arrogantly
they didn't
and
do enough for the
violently
cause.
declined to go see the movie in theaters. I mean, they're the ones who failed her. Or maybe alternatively, she is the one who failed by failing to make a movie that anyone wants to see.
I mean, that is again, yeah. I mean, that's what I wish we could focus on. That's what I'm trying to do with this channel. Can we just focus on whether or not a movie is good or bad? Can we all just stop trying to like inject our like personal politics into literally everything? That's the reality that I'd like to see. But no, we have to watch a bad movie, and just like while we're watching the movie, we have to start fighting the feminist ghosts in our heads.
Yes, now I think maybe we're on to something here. So why did the movie actually flop? I think there are two reasons, both of which we've already alluded to. The first is that, for the most part,
Yes, give us your wise
truth
analysis.
nobody really wants to see female-led action movies. People are not that interested in female action stars. Hollywood insists that we should be interested, but we just aren't. Female audiences are, it turns out, especially not interested in female action stars.
You know why this is just like a really dumb point? It's because he literally alluded to it earlier. The movie is still making like a decent chunk of money. Well, I mean, obviously when you take out like the budget and all of that, it made $44 million in its opening weekend. That's not the worst. That's actually like a pretty, for most movies, that's a pretty solid opening weekend. So it's like, to say that people are just like inherently against female-led heroes or whatever, it's so weird because it's like, I don't even know what his point is anymore, because he's like, you're calling everybody just a sexist who doesn't watch your movie, and then he's like, now by the way, just so you're aware, people are just sexist, and that's why they didn't watch your movie. What is he even talking about? But yeah, like $44 million is like, that's a pretty good chunk of people. If you just if we were talking about like a reasonably budgeted movie, that'd be pretty good. So I mean, his point just falls flat on its face there.
Now, there are some exceptions to this rule. There are a few iconic female action heroes, like Sigourney Weaver as Ripley in the Alien films, and a couple of others. But as a general principle, action movies are a man's domain. They are for men, they are about men, and that's just the reality. You could be sad about it. You can insist that it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just nonsense, because this is like, yeah, you have Alien, you have Terminator. More recently, like, people like to dismiss this, but it is true. The first Captain Marvel made $1 billion, and you know, people will say, "Oh, well, that's just because it was between Infinity War and Endgame." Blah. But you know, there was another movie that that was in between Infinity War and Endgame. Remember, Ant-Man and the Wasp. You know what movie didn't make $1 billion? Ant-Man and the Wasp. You know, so the first Wonder Woman movie made more money than literally every Superman movie. Like this idea that like audiences are just kind of sexist and they don't care about female action stars inherently. It's just that it's just not true. Yeah, I don't know how else to say it.
Should be different, but it is what it is. And that's why if you look at a list of the top 50 highest grossing action films of all time, maybe 2 of the top 50 were led by women. And one of them was Captain Marvel, coming in at 19 on the list, which grossed about $1 billion. But that film was sandwiched in between Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, both in the top
Bro,
5.
that is crazy. With style and grace. Before he even made the argument, I fucking Kobe Bryant style slam dunked on it, destroyed him in this debate with facts and logic. Oh God. All right, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna exit the premises here. I'm gonna go back into my hole in my cave. I'm gonna continue mining because there do be monsters out here. All right.
5, and it rode their coattails to box office glory.
Well, I mean, also, I guess to be clear, I'm not saying that that being sandwiched in between Infinity War and Endgame doesn't help, but that doesn't get you to $1 billion. Especially like if you remember, like after you watch the movie, it's like pretty obvious that you don't even really need to watch it in order to understand Endgame, and that word is going to spread around really quickly. So I don't know.
So Captain Marvel is kind of like the WNBA of superheroes. Her
Yeah, because it's also like even if it was like super necessary to watch it, if people really were as like sexist as this guy is trying to say that they are, they just read a recap. They wouldn't even necessarily need to watch the movie. Hey, Coda. Yeah. Sorry, there's a dog that just assaulted me.
Distance depends on the success of her male counterparts. Although, in fairness, people did actually go to see Captain Marvel, but literally nobody in history has ever seen a WNBA game. In any case, the point is that audiences aren't generally interested in female action films. It's not because of sexism, given that female audiences...
Yeah, it's also, I mean, just to keep on reiterating the point, I guess, it's like, what is the most beloved MCU Disney Plus show? It's a WandaVision. Arguably, the most like well-liked MCU character right now is Wanda. I mean, if you're really thinking about it.
Are also uninterested. It's more that men, by and large, they make more compelling, more convincing, more entertaining action heroes. That's not my opinion. I mean, it is my opinion, but it's not just my opinion. All of the objective evidence suggests that it is the opinion of almost all moviegoers, men and women alike. Whether they put it so...
Wait, what evidence is he talking about? Well, it's one of those things where it's like, you can pull. I guess he's talking about the I think what he was talking about earlier when he said that the top 10, like 8 of the top 10 highest grossing action movies were led by men. Question. And I don't know the answer to this. What about the top 10 least grossing action movies? Who were they led by? I'm gonna go on a limb. I don't know this I don't know this for a fact. I'm gonna go out on a limb and just assume that they were also male led. You wanna know why? Because most action movies generally, I assume, are gonna be male led. Because I'm gonna go out on a limb, I don't know this. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and assume that most movies are probably male led. And I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, sexism, blah 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 blah. But like, I mean, that's just kind of how it's been for a lot of our history. But now but yeah, to be clear, it's like, I'm not even saying that. I don't think the opposite is true. I don't think that audiences are like anti-men. I just think they want good movies. Like, yeah, that's the other thing that I've been trying to like push on my channel, that we just need better movies. Oh, comic book movies are dying. Make them better. That's it. The Marvels is actually proof that, because if you look at Captain Marvel, that movie absolutely was like feminist and whatever. But then in the Marvels, they took out the feminism and made the movie worse. Like, I'm not even like a big fan of the first Captain Marvel. The Marvels is a leagues worse, and it is way less woke. So I don't know. Just make better movies.
So bluntly or not. Also, the audience for action movies is primarily male, especially superheroes. So, like when an 8-year-old boy goes to see Spider-Man, he likes to imagine primarily male, especially superheroes. So, like when an 8-year-old boy goes to see Spider-Man, he likes to imagine himself as the hero. No 8-year-old boy is running around the house with a bath towel made into a cape, shouting, "I'm Captain Marvel." That's not happening.
You don't know me.
Hollywood has tried to turn the action genre into a
You don't know what I did as a child.
a woman's domain. They've tried to feminize it, like they tried to feminize everything, but the social engineering just hasn't taken hold and probably never will. And second, as I've already covered, female...
I don't even know. It's just like... guys, like when I was a kid, I liked Wonder Woman, you know. I like Batgirl. When I watched Teen Titans, I liked Raven and Starfire. Like, this idea that kids or boys are like inherently against female heroes is nonsense. It's just like we don't think too deeply about it. Like, it's probably true that, we're not going to dress up as them, as like female superheroes. But that doesn't mean we don't like them. That doesn't mean we're not going to watch media about them. This fucking dog.
Let or not, the superhero genre is it has long since grown stale. Now it is moldy and decomposing on the counter. There is just a limit, right, to how long you can convince the audience to come back and watch the same story over and over.
Yeah, but I think, this is probably where, like, he's sort of missing the key part of the equation. And it's that the content that we're currently getting is also, like, significantly worse than what we were getting. Like, well, you know what the other thing about it as well is that I guess in some ways it's not, because the comic book movie genre hasn't really ever hit on all cylinders. And this is actually something that I've kind of realized recently, because if you think about it, Sony's never really been knocking it out of the park, right? DC has never really been knocking it out of the park. Fox, when they were making their X-Men stuff, was never really knocking it out of the park. It's really been sort of the entire genre has been riding off the back of the MCU. And now that even the MCU is struggling to where there's really no discernible difference between the Marvels and Madam Web. It makes sense that people are now going like, there's more of it than there's ever been before, and it's now worse than it's ever been. We can't even look forward to the next MCU release. So yeah, I think that's where he's missing a part of the equation, to where he's saying that it's always been bad, but when there was a stable MCU, it kind of was a tide that rose all ships. And kind of was allowing the comic book movie genre as a whole to be this dominating force. But the thing that I guess the studio executives forgot is that the movies also have to be good.
Over again. It turns out that the limit is about 20 years. That's the limit. Now, for me, it was like 20 minutes. I saw 20 minutes of one superhero movie. I said, yeah, I kind of get it. Like, I get it. It's fine. I get it. I understand superhero movies. I understand what you're doing. I get it. I don't need to rewatch it a million times. I don't need to spend 2 decades of my life watching this same thing over and over and over again. But a lot of audiences, apparently, they needed to do that. But even those audiences are the ones that have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like this criticism is just like wrong, but I don't I don't know. I don't know. And I mean, he's literally saying that he hasn't, but how someone watches Doom Patrol and then watches the Lego Batman movie and goes, it's just the same thing. It's just silly.
Have a much greater tolerance for repetition, even they have grown tired of it. I would say that their tolerance for repetition is too great, but at least now most of them seem to agree that if Marvel wants us to watch their movies, they need to start making actual movies, rather than, as Martin Scorsese would say, amusement park rides that go around in circles.
I like how he's like now sort of saying the right thing here, where it's like, yeah, the movies need to be good. But like he can't just say it without also like putting his personal politics into the situation. It's like it has to be because of women or whatever.
Circles forever, never ending, never saying anything, never bothering to tell a story. Or they can keep on their current track and continue losing money, which is perfect.
Also, I mean, it also does have to be said that okay, I've only seen like one Daily Wire movie. Wasn't impressed.
Perfectly fine with me. Either way, it's not just me saying, but all of America apparently saying that The Marvels is today canceled.
Ooh.
Hey YouTube, thanks for listening to the show.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think I pretty much said everything that I that I have to say about the situation. I just think that comic book movies need to be better. Like if you just continue to put out mediocre to terrible movies no matter how much goodwill you've built up, at some point it's gonna burn out. And I think that's what we're seeing happening. I don't think that audiences are against female-led superhero movies. Like I feel like just the fact that the Wonder Woman movie made more than literally every Superman movie kind of portrays that pretty well. Yeah, let me know what you think about any and all of this in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.